Money for improved patient flow at the hospital. A high-profile murder trial wraps up. And more than a dozen are dead after a mass shooting in Prague.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Thunder Bay Regional Hospital is getting some much-needed funding to improve patient flow.
This morning, MPP Kevin Holland announced nearly $1.3 million for alternative level of care patients to speed up the discharge process. Josh Morano reports.
Today's total announcement for the regional is just under $1.3 million. Congratulations.
The funding from the Ministry of Health was given to the Regional Health Sciences Centre to help support Ontario's new innovative models of care. MPP Kevin Holland says the money is divided into 3 sectors of funding for the hospital, all with the purpose of making sure discharging patients is quick, but also to make sure patients receive their needs from their own home.
It's going to provide enhanced level of service and more ability for the hospital to serve those patients and be able to give them that care and get them home. There's 3 streams that is being funded, and the one is for a planner, for a kinesiologist and a planner to help patients that are recovering from surgery receive that care and that plan to help them rehabilitate better at home.
$245,000 is going towards the planner and kinesiologist, $347,000 to patient-oriented discharge and post-discharge follow-up to ensure patients understand discharge instructions and introducing home care services that support 10,000 patients. $700,000 is being issued for flexible funding for patients with barriers to discharge. The purpose of the funding is specific to barriers such as service, supply, or equipment-based. Hospital President Rhonda Crocker-Ellicott says she's looking forward to the opportunities this opens up for patients and the hospital.
This time at transition is one of the most high-risk periods for many individuals, so being able to ensure that, end to end, we're supporting the care needs and ensuring that transition in care is very successful is really important. So this $1.3 million essentially does that in a nice wraparound way for patients and their families.
Thunder Bay Regional is a hub for Northwestern Ontario, so we see those patients that are requiring these services are coming to Thunder Bay to receive those services. So this will help develop that plan, develop the supports that they need so that they can go back home and recover better at home.
Crocker-Ellicott adds she believes part of the funds will go towards job creation to help support the needs in the transitional care unit. Josh Morano, TBT News.
A Thunder Bay murder trial wrapped up today, but a verdict won't be rendered until January at the earliest. 33-year-old Dustin Moffat has pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder in the death of 16-year-old Cody Furioso in June of 2021. The Crown and defense delivered their closing submissions at the City Courthouse this morning. The fatal altercation took place near the James Street Swing Bridge. 2 youths suffered stab wounds after a fight with a man in dark clothing. Furioso suffered a stab wound to the stomach and was pronounced dead in hospital. Police found Moffat unconscious near the scene, and he was taken to hospital for a suspected opioid overdose. He was charged with second-degree murder and aggravated assault the next day. The Crown says video evidence and testimony from the surviving victim proves Moffat is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But Moffat's lawyer points out that surveillance video shows another person in the area around the same time. And she told the Crown, quote, "You got the wrong guy." Justice Bruce Fitzpatrick says he needs time to consider all the evidence and will return with a decision in the new year. The full story can be found on tbnewswatch.com.
Starting next spring, Thunder Bay's Crossroads Addiction Recovery Centre will no longer operate as an independent facility.
The province recently approved a voluntary integration with St. Joseph's Care Group. Lee Noonan has the details.
The Crossroads Centre is a 40-bed recovery home that's provided residential programs for people before and after undergoing addictions treatment since 1965. Serena Dykstra will be the last person to chair the centre's board of directors, which is being dissolved on March 31st.
It is really, yes, the end of an era, but also the beginning of a very promising future and a new chapter in Crossroads history.
Crossroads has for many years worked alongside the St. Joseph's Care Group, each organization providing services at different points along the same continuum of care, with St. Joseph's providing outreach and addictions treatment programs. As the Crossroads pre- and post-treatment programs are brought under the St. Joseph's umbrella, CEO Janine Black says the only difference clients should notice is a smoother transition between programs.
So St. Joseph's Care Group will continue to offer the same service. The clients will not feel a change in service, and so the frontline services that are provided to them will remain very similar to what they are now.
Crossroads has been struggling to recruit enough staff to maintain their programs, and the board initiated the integration process in the hopes that a bigger institution could provide more resources and stability for their clients.
Seeing alumni come back through the doors, and sometimes to deliver programming to clients. It's seeing them out in the community. It's seeing the eyes of a client change from hopeless to hopeful. Those, to me, are measures of success.
The biggest changes will likely be felt by the staff, who, to stay on, will have to reapply for new jobs with St. Joseph's.
St. Joseph's Care Group wants them to apply, and we encourage them to apply to positions when this service moves into St. Joseph's Care Group.
Both organizations say they're grateful to the staff here at Crossroads Centre for sticking by their clients and making the transition as smooth as possible. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Workers at Thunder Bay's Alsum plant continue to await word on a new TTC subway contract.
Now, this says concerns are being raised in Toronto about the absence of federal funding. The Toronto Transit Commission passed its 2024 budget last night. Allison Hurst has the story.
All we want for Christmas are new trains.
Carolers sing familiar tunes.
Give us subway trains.
With a clear message to federal MPs.
We want new trains for Christmas, and it's not just for the season. The longer we wait to ride, the more expensive the trains will get.
Asking Ottawa to fund a third of the roughly $2.3 billion price tag of new trains for Line 2.
The city is putting a third of the money into these new vehicles. The province is putting a third, but we need that money from the federal government at the start of the new year.
The current fleet of subway trains will be 30 years old as of 2026. That, according to the TTC staff report, is the end of design life.
Line 2 is under so much pressure, and anybody that rides the TTC every day like I do knows that, as do all of Santa's little helpers here. It's time to do the right thing.
This was discussed in the new deal struck last month between the city and province. This request comes as the TTC board passes its $2.6 billion budget for 2024, which includes a fare freeze for the upcoming year and a plan to return to 97% of pre-pandemic levels.
I think this budget is a good step in the right direction. We saw new money for operating. We saw new investments in making sure that the transit system is safe.
TTC board chair Jamal Myers is hopeful the federal government will come through.
I think they're very receptive. They understand that, Toronto needs new trains. The TTC is really the backbone of our city.
The budget goes to City Council for approval in February. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
The Thunder Bay Museum has announced funding for an upcoming feasibility study on its facilities called Our Past Needs a Future. The study will explore the Thunder Bay Historical Museum Society's facility needs for the next 50 years. It includes expanding artifacts and archival collections, programming, exhibits, staffing, and partnership opportunities. The study will cost $310,000. $140,000 of that is coming from an investment by the Department of Canadian Heritage through its Canada Cultural Spaces Fund. Another $30,000 was presented this week by the Thunder Bay CEDC. Historical Museum Society Board Chair Michelle Beaulieu says the study is important as it will look not only at what's been done in the past, but what needs to be done in the future.
We are reaching capacity with the building currently as it is in terms of collection space, how we do classrooms, school programming, how we do essentially meeting our mission and mandate as a historical society and a museum, but also in terms of how we serve the community of Thunder Bay.
The Our Past Needs a Future study will begin next month and will include a series of public engagement sessions and conversations with partners on how to move forward together.
Tomorrow will mark the 2-year anniversary of the devastating fire that destroyed the historic Finnish Labor Temple.
The beloved city landmark with its Hoyto restaurant are still dearly missed by many in the community, but now city residents can see the iconic building once again as a local artist is displaying a scale model version of it. Jonathan Wilson has the story.
The fire at the Finn Hall on Bay Street in December of 2021 was a heartbreaking sight for a lot of people in Thunder Bay and many more around the world who had fond memories of the century-old building. Local artist Chris Rantala was deeply affected as well, so the fine arts student at Lakehead University decided to create a 1/24th scale model of the front of the historic building as part of his thesis project for three-dimensional sculpturing.
It took about 250, 300 hours over a 3-month period. And yes, it is a passion project. It was kind of actually cathartic building it, because as soon as it burned down, I just had this urge to try and memorialize it.
Rantala is mainly known as a painter and created this artwork of the Finn Hall in 1991. He says he's recently been creating more three-dimensional artwork, allowing him to recreate every angle of objects like the famous Labor Temple.
Well, I really like the architecture. It's one of a kind. It's so iconic. Like, especially when you drove down Algoma, you'd see it all the time. We kind of took it for granted. And once it burned down, it's like we're missing a friend.
Few people actually saw Rantala's creation when he first completed it because he felt like it was too soon after the devastating fire to unveil it. But this fall, he posted an image on social media that prompted a lot of feedback. He also brought it to a model railroad exhibit where he says many people became very emotional upon seeing it.
They were surprised. Some of them had a bit of a tear in their eye seeing it again. I think they were grateful that somebody was like memorializing it so that they can see it, experience it again, kind of in a small way.
The model of the Finn Hall, along with some of Rantala's other artworks, can be viewed by the public at Gallery 33 here on Balsam Street. However, the Mini Finlandia is one of the items up for sale, so you might want to come check it out soon. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Well, that is just some beautiful artwork right there. And it is, well, turning to weather now, Fiona. It warmed back up again today. And if you were outside at the exact moment on the north side, you could see a little bit of snow falling.
Yes, we had snow outside our station. Might not have had it outside your house. It was very specific because I did not see anything on the ground on the south side this afternoon. But we did get a little dusting in some parts of the city, but all in all, it was just a very gray day. We started out with a low of -5 and wind chills of -11. We warmed up back to the plus side. This is not conducive to snowmaking weather, and that's with winds from the south. Started out very light in the morning, 7 kilometers per hour. Couple periods in the afternoon where it kicked up to 30 kilometers an hour at times. But all in all, the winds were relatively light for most of the day. Now, to the west, similar to Thunder Bay, Fort Frances had a mild night. They only dropped down to -3 and then warmed up a couple degrees above the freezing mark. At this hour, they're at 1, and they do have some light snow. It is possible to see snow in northwestern Ontario at Christmas in 2023. Similar temperatures in Kenora and Dryden as we head up into Red Lake. They're currently at their daytime high of 0. They've had mostly cloudy skies for much the day after. A relatively mild night as well. Now, as you head further east, temperatures do start to drop a little bit. Pickle Lake and Armstrong are currently at -3. Greenstone -5. Now, overnight, this region was a little bit cooler and almost seasonal, not quite. They were hovering between -13 and -16 overnight. At this hour, they're at their daytime highs. They had clouds all day, and the snow just began in the last hour. Heading down along the lakeshore, we're again just a little above or a little below the freezing mark. Sault Ste. Marie has stayed below freezing all day. That's been under mostly cloudy to cloudy skies. They're currently at -3 and a wind chill of -8, which is actually making them one of the cooler locations in northwestern Ontario, which is unusual. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are going to drop just barely below the freezing mark, -1, although winds are going to be tapering off, being quite light from the south. Really not going to be conducive to wind chill factor. but we are expecting to see a little bit of wet flurries in the overnight hours and possibly into tomorrow morning, because there is a system that is moving through Lake Superior. And tomorrow, as the temperatures rise, it's most likely going to turn anything that does fall into rain or ice or rain-snow mix, especially to the northeast. But as we head into the weekend before Christmas, there is a possibility we could see record temperatures, and these aren't the kind that Santa wants to see. I'll have more details later on in the news hour.
Yeah, Fiona, we are quickly running out of time in order to see snow for Christmas. Thank you very much. All right, well, there has been a deadly mass shooting at a university in Prague. It is Czechia's worst mass shooting in its history. We'll have details on that and more when your Thursday News Hour continues after the break.